Representative Fulcher also talked about the KEEP Act. It's a bill that eliminates federal income tax on overtime pay. He proposed a bill last year, but it didn't get a lot of traction. Representative Fulcher believes it could pass this year.
In your response to Senator Britt's question earlier, you confirmed that when the CFPB submits quarterly funding requests, the Fed is not in a position to exercise any discretion over what the funds are used for. Is that correct?
As long as it's compliant with the law.
It just strikes me that the Fed is not in a position to hold the CFPB accountable for what it does or how it spends its money. Congress hasn't been allowed to hold the CFPB accountable for what it does or how it spends its money.
I cannot think of a more important topic for a hearing than this one right here to defend our First Amendment. Mr. Schellenberger, I was very glad to hear you mention that it used to be that the left and right were in agreement on the topic of free speech. I'm not quite old enough to remember, but in the 60s, 70s, the campus radicals called their movement the free speech movement. Boy, the radical left does not seem to believe in free speech today. And the free speech, the censorship that we've seen over the last few years, by and large, it's been censorship of true information.
Thank you very much for that, Congressman. Let me give you a great example. As this committee knows well, we have exactly one U.S. military base on the continent of Africa in Djibouti. We have a base that is a priority in Djibouti, and China has one base on the continent of Africa, which is also there. There's a terrific piece by Bush administration AID Administrator Andrew Natsios today talking about how our soft power, how our AID assistance helped make that base a reality.
Our nation faces massive threats that are growing day by day. Our nation is facing threats around the world, from North Korea and Iran, from China and from Russia. And we need an intelligence service equipped to respond to these challenges. Can we trust Tulsi Gabbard to lead our intelligence services and to respond to these threats? I cannot.
Modern port operations rely heavily on digital logistics, AI-driven cargo tracking, and automated systems. If the People's Republic of China controlled ports in Latin America or even PRC-affiliated terminals within U.S. ports were compromised, it could provide the Chinese Communist Party with the capability to conduct espionage, manipulate global supply chains, or even sabotage critical logistics operations in a crisis scenario.
In the United States, we of course take this super seriously. Whether it's daily interface with federal agencies, CISA, U.S. Coast Guard, we share information about threats across all the players.
Do you believe the continued expansion of PRC-affiliated surveillance technology in Latin American ports presents a security risk?
Yes, it does present a security risk.
This is Washington. And among the Washington pundits, Trump and Musk and the rest of us are probably losing. But among the American people, we're winning. And you know what? They're what counts. Yeah. And we're going to win this fight.
Senator, thank you for your time. We'll see how it goes. Wear a seatbelt.
So my colleague Andy Biggs from Arizona has brought forth a Midnight Rules Relief Act legislation to the floor so Congress can block multiple last-minute regulations instead of having to do them just one at a time. When an outgoing administration uses a scattergun approach with all sorts of bad rules and things that are harmful to the economy, harmful to our water supply, then we need to be able to have that ability to move more quickly in Congress as well. So that's why the Midnight Rules Relief Act is going to be important.
I mean, we literally are raking leaves while there's a forest fire behind us and ignoring what's actually all going on. We've got agencies being dismantled by an unelected billionaire and a guy named Big Balls while we're sitting here having a hearing unrelated to everything that's happening around us. We've got a constitutional crisis on the horizon. We've got court orders telling us that we have to allow USAID employees back, and we're still turning them back at the door, and we have no resolution to that.
medical research that has helped us make progress in Alzheimer's and cancer and HIV and hepatitis and so many different chronic diseases that if you slash and burn the kind of funding that is necessary to make that kind of progress that saves lives, then there are going to be a lot of people who die.
And in your testimony, you mentioned that the Government Accountability Office found nearly half of COVID spending that was made with purchase of cards at the Bureau involved transactions at elevated risk for fraud and misuse. And I believe you mentioned also that $13.8 million in unallowable spending at 24 schools and one school that was transferred, that transferred $1.2 million of federal funds to an offshore account. What recommendations would you make for GAO, or what recommendations have been made to the Bureau?
If the staffing at USDA, especially in these particular areas, FSA, NRCS, were cut at least by half, would we see significant decrease in services and support to farmers?
Yes.
Yes.
I really don't have enough information to give you an accurate answer.
Mr. Newton, any comment?
I think the same. I think it depends on what happens with replacing those workers.
Do you agree that these recruitment programs at their core do in fact prioritize merit and skill and simply expand the pool of candidates being considered?
Yes.
Do you agree that the Federal Reserve has directly and concretely benefited from initiatives to attract, hire, and retain a highly skilled and diverse workforce?
I do.